or Gaudiya Vaishnav understanding of Pratishta? Other than the temple devotees, who might venture a guess? Pratishta. Okay, I'm going to tell you what Pratishta means. It's a good word. It's like when you want to call someone out when they're acting in an obnoxious way. And you can say, that's just your Pratishta. They won't know what you're talking about. Pratishta is a desire for profit, a desire for adoration, and a desire for love. Love? Is that right? Profit, adoration, and love. No, profit, adoration, and distinction. Thank you, distinction. Glad you made that distinction. Yes, this is what a pratishta is. So it's something that happens to people who constantly get other people flattering them and telling them how great they are. And as is often said, a lie told often enough becomes a fact in the minds of people. So pratishta is something that a devotee is very careful to cut the weeds of pratishta that surround his, what we call the bhakti lata bij, the seed of devotional service that's sprouting within the heart as we begin this magical process of purifying the heart. And pratishta is an enemy which arises in the heart of everybody. It's only natural that when you water the tree, all the weeds will go, or the flowers, the weeds will grow because they're also being watered, isn't it? So they will grow, and if not cut down, they will choke that plant. They will choke that little sprout, and it will be forever covered and smothered by the weeds of pratishta. So, see, this is example. Thank you. It was all planned. Everything planned. This is the idea of pratishta. Oh, I deserve flowers around my neck. They don't. They only made one. They gave it to me. And this is the idea that now I can't even wear this. This is ridiculous. That such kinds of little things, little bits and pieces here and there, feed our ego. Have anyone noticed that happening sometimes in their life? Because don't forget, it works two ways. Criticisms also feed your ego, but in a negative way. Here's one. Tell me, you've never heard this one. You're not good enough. Anyone not heard that? About someone saying about, you're just not good enough. Everyone's heard that, right? And that also is a part of pratishta because it's just a negative side of the positive. Because everything in this world has a negative and a positive. That's how karma works. For every point of punya, you're also going to get a point of, there'll be later on a point of pop. Some point you have to balance it out because otherwise you get smothered completely and you go down to the lowest regions of consciousness. So that's the cycle that we're in of birth, death, old age, and disease, the samsara that everybody knows about. And anybody not realize that they are in a cycle of birth and death and old age and disease? And just to be honest, if you don't quite realize it. I'm the only one that doesn't realize it? Oh, we got two hands. I realized it. I realized that I don't realize that I'm in a cycle of birth and death and old age and disease. And what's the symptom that I know I don't realize it? What's the symptom? Anybody know? Yes?
Material enjoyment.
What?
Material enjoyment.
Yes, it's the request that I can still enjoy this world, I'm somehow or another going to beat the system. You know, when you go to Las Vegas or any gambling place, what's the odds? Nobody beats the house. That's how. Nobody. Not any gambler. As much money as you might win, you're going to spend it and lose it. And that's how it works in the material world. Nobody beats the house. Nobody. What's that saying? You don't mess with Mother Nature. She's a, you know, you see the pictures of Kali. She's a vicious woman. She's after blood, and people offer her blood, don't they? They cut those lambs, and the blood runs once a year in those, you know, in these temples to offer to Durga, because that's what the material world is about. And Durga is there as Krishna's representative. She's performing pure devotional service because she is satisfying the desires of her devotees. And they're looking at it, saying, I gotta kill, I have to murder, I have to cause suffering, I have to draw blood to satisfy this bloodthirsty demigoddess. And still they're thinking everything's fine. So then I'll get some, you know, punya, I'll get some material enjoyment. But those who are wise understand that we are stuck here because we think it's possible to enjoy the material world, when in fact it's a place of miseries, absolute miseries. Does anybody, who does not read the news every day, or see the news on the, not read or just see pictures or whatever? Who does not see the news? One person. Two people do not see the news. So you don't know anything about the war in Ukraine. Oh, you heard from others. Very insulated person. The rest of everybody, you read the news, and how much of the news is good news? Almost nothing. Even in the celebrity columns, no good news there? When I was a kid, every Sunday, the newspaper would come. It was really thick. Lots of news. News, obituaries, and of course, advertisements. So as children, what do? When the big newspaper comes, what section do we take out of that paper right away? And our parents don't care. There's a section usually in the paper, it used to be anyway.
All celebrities and stuff.
He's saying celebrities. I think you have to be a teenager for that. But kids, elementary school kids, we all take out the comic section. Right? We take out that. That's what we don't want to read all the bad news. Srila Prabhupada, in his books, some people complain, believe it or not. They complain and they say, your Swami is very negative. He doesn't have anything good to say about this material world. All the time in his books he's complaining about the material world. Anybody ever notice that when you read Prabhupada's books, especially in the beginning cantos of the Bhagavatam? It's a lot of criticism of politicians, people's sinful activities in this age, so on and so forth. Prabhupada's constantly reminding us that this is going on. So why does he do that? If you're going to be spiritual, Prabhu, stay positive. Stay positive, right? Haven't you heard that in some circles? You know, Sri Ravi Shankar or something, you know, so stay positive. Who's that other guy with a beard? Sadhguru. Yeah, oh yeah. You gotta discipline the mind, stay positive, because, you know, you're supposed to be happy. You're supposed to, that's your birthright, to be happy. But they're saying you can be happy in the material world. And so far, it's been 51 years since I've been practicing, aspiring to be a devotee. And so far, I haven't found anybody who's very happy in their material life. And it's really amazing. I mean, I see, you know, there's bursts of happiness here and there. I got the job! I got the job! Really? What'd you get? I'm fulfilling orders at Amazon. How many hours a day? 9 hours a day. I'm telling you, how much do you get for, per hour? And they're happy. I got a job. And then, they lose the job, or they get hurt on the job, or something happens, or there's not enough money in the job. So many things happen in this world. Why? Did you ever ask yourself, why? Why are things going so badly? Even I'm a devotee. I'm chanting every day. I'm doing that for God. I'm doing that for Krishna. Why is this happening to me? Why did my girlfriend leave me for my best friend? He wasn't really my best friend after all. How could I think he was my best friend? And somebody, you come outside you spent all this money on a cycle, and you come outside, the wheels are gone, or the cycle's gone. I get this, in America we have this thing, it's called, it's a neighborhood online, so you have neighborhoods. In my area there's maybe, 20, maybe 50,000 people in that neighborhood. So, you see these posts. We came home yesterday. No, we got up in the morning, our car was gone. We came here yesterday, our house was burglarized. Things are going very badly here. The politicians aren't listening to us. There's crime everywhere. There's people sleeping in the streets in front of our house. They're using drugs. So many complaints. Even in the wealthy areas, so many complaints. So Prabhupada, he emphasizes what kind of a situation we're in to remind us, because like Parikshit Maharaj had observed 5,000 years ago, we have this illusion that today, I'm not going to die. Not today, maybe tomorrow, but not now. Who thinks they're going to die right now? Anybody in the room? That's good, because suicide is a growing problem in this country. No, that's good. So, taking to spiritual life, understanding that the material world will never, ever, it's always, those pictures of the donkey, and he's got the carrot hanging in front of his nose, right? You've seen that, right? Stupid donkey. He's never going to eat that carrot. He's just chasing the carrot. They'd have it in dog racing. They have a rabbit, a mechanical rabbit. And, around the track, they have it on a special rig, so the rabbit always stays ahead of the dogs. They never catch the rabbit, And that way they have the dog races. So that's our situation. We're looking for vogue. We're looking to enjoy. It's our birthright. We're supposed to enjoy. When I joined, it was in the middle of the hippie movement. What did we want? What was it that we said? This is our birthright, and you politicians, you nasty, corrupt people, lying, horrible monsters who have created this consumer society, you're taking away our right to enjoyment. And what was the enjoyment we wanted? Two things. Free love, that means sex at every corner if you want it. And we didn't want to work. We didn't want to work. We didn't know anything that Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita. That everybody has to work, even he has to work. We didn't know anything about that. We wanted these birthrights because they were a perverted reflection of what we internally knew was the domain of the soul, to enjoy blissfully forever. So that brings me to the theme of today's question and answer period. Time is moving quickly, huh? It's already 10 to 7. This goes to 7:15?
7:15, 30.
Uh-huh. We'll see how many people are left tomorrow morning when we're done. I was thinking, well, what should we talk about with younger people? And I think maybe we should find out something about the issue of free will. We live in a free society. So we feel that we're making choices about our lives, right? Anyone feel restricted that they can't make choices in their life? That there's some coercion, some policeman telling him, some Putin telling him, no, you can't make choices. Anyone feel that way? No, because India today is not like India of the past. India today is all about what?
Democracy.
Well,
Sort of.
sort of. Let's just get this straight about democracy, demonocracy, as Prabhupada calls it. Why is it demonocracy? Why Prabhupada says like that? Why he puts down the will of the people? Why? Any idea? Yes, the same guy who bravely answered before.
Because means we are choosing a spiritual master. How is it possible? Means some democracy, we choose our leader. How is it possible? The leader is representative of Krishna.
Oh, he's saying the leader's the representative of Krishna, so how can we have a democracy? That's the interesting angle. We'll come back to that. Okay, let's put that on the back burner. Yeah.
Our parents tell us that you should pursue spirituality, but you should not go excess into that. Anything in excess is not so good for you.
Anything excess is not so good for you. So if you feel too much Krishna consciousness, that's not good for you. Is that right?
Yeah, our parents say that.
It's a pretty sweeping statement there.
I didn't hear the reply.
Oh, my reply is if you feel too Krishna conscious, too much excess Krishna consciousness, then that's not a good thing. He said anything in excess. Any thoughts?
Why is it not good?
Why is it not a good thing? Well, you said anything in excess is not a good thing. Actually, you're right. Anything in excess is not a good thing. But Krishna consciousness is not a thing. Consciousness is not a thing. And not only that, it's unlimited. So you can't have any excess in something that's unlimited. So Krishna consciousness is transcendent to the statement that anything in excess is not a good thing. Generally, you're right. And I was just having fun. Hare Krishna. So, what are the limits of freedom? Oh, we're talking about demonocracy. So why is demonocracy not really such a good thing?
Because the people are not capable enough to elect the representatives, correct?
Very close, yes. He said because the people are not capable of electing a good quality leader. Yeah, and why are the people not capable?
Because they are already into all this material enjoyment. They are not thinking about.
We're not equal. Right. So here's how it operates in a democracy. You are destined to the lowest common denominator. In other words, when you take the average of everybody, you have very intelligent people, like the head, and then like the pyramid, right, or the triangle, you have the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Sudras. So the Brahmins are the head, but they're very few. So let's say they all vote for the most qualified candidate, but the Sudras and the Vaishyas and part of the Kshatriyas, they vote for the one that wants them, will give them the most money, most artha, most economic development. So then you're stuck, because the people who are on top say, no, that's not a good leader. He's going to take us into a very bad space. He's going to spend all your money now, and then your children are going to have to pay the debts, and then you won't have any money for your pensions, and so you're stuck in a democracy by that limit, that it always has to be the common denominator. It's not the intelligent people, what to speak of Brahminical people. And therefore, it's always dumbed down. Now, is it better than a tyrannical government with some stupid person on top? Absolutely, absolutely. At least there's some room for change, But it's not a very effective governing system. What we term democracy, we say democracy is quite messy, actually. It might be better than nothing, but the problem today is we don't even have a demonocracy. We have a mediaocracy, because our brains are being manipulated by social media, by so much fake news, and after a while you start to believe all that, and then your illusions you become like what Prabhupada had become in the 20s. He was a supporter of Gandhi until he met Bhaktisiddhanta, and Bhaktisiddhanta said, well, why are you doing that? That's nothing to do with your eternal spiritual development. Politics will never get you to Krishna. And Prabhupada kind of woke up. It's a pastime that Srila Prabhupada was performing for us, because we could see if he shifted from that consciousness to, we'll make things better through politics, to, the spiritual component is the consciousness is what drives all of the rest of the body. So if consciousness is not pure, then the body is going to take on so many pollutants anyway. So what's the point of putting a Band-Aid on when you can actually cure everything through proper consciousness? So that's why politics is not that important. I mean, we're respectful, and there are some politicians that are better than others. Obviously, there are some more in the mode of goodness than others. But generally, when we talk about free elections, most people are brainwashed by the media or fake news, or they're driven for their economic benefit. So spirituality plays hardly any role in any of that. And the point that Bhaktisiddhanta, when he was challenged by Subhash Chandra Bose, why are you taking the best and the brightest from this independence movement of India? Why are you taking the best and the brightest? You're putting them in your Gaudiya Mats all over the country. We need them to lead this country out from the British yoke. And he wasn't convinced. He said, what's the difference? He said, the British or the Indians in charge. To him, it wasn't that big a deal. He said, well, at least with the British in charge, the trains will run on time. That was his response. Not that it's not a good thing that India has its independence, of course, but it's not the goal of our life. The goal of our life is to purify our consciousness and to become Krishna conscious, or have a relationship of love between ourselves and our Creator, Krishna. So my question then is to all of you, what are the limits of your free will? How much free will can you exert? And you could give me examples, and then we can examine that. So anyone who believes they've made some choices, please share your choice and let's examine it in a compassionate, loving way. Anyone? With choice of occupation, choice of marital status, choice of whatever choice you have. Anyone have an example of a choice that they've made? Any brave soul out there? Anyone? Mataji? Women are usually more brave than men. They can handle pain 8 times that which a man can handle pain. What choices have you made? Give me one choice you've made.
Which choice?
Any choice. You name it. Let's tear that choice apart.
My choice.
Yeah. Any choice you've made in life.
One minute. When it, I remember.
Okay, you think about it. Anybody else got a choice? We got a. What's your name?
Vedant.
Vedan. Vedan, you have the floor.
I chose.
A little louder so everyone can hear.
I chose engineering. Study engineering after 12th standard.
You chose to study what?
Engineering.
Engineering. He chose to study engineering. Your parents didn't ask you to study engineering? No. What did they want you to do?
Anything, but not engineering.
That's why he chose engineering. That's why he thinks he chose engineering. It was just a reaction to, I'll do anything my parents, don't want me to do. I'll show them. He must have seen 3 Idiots about 16 times. He kind of looks like the guy in 3 Idiots. But he looks like you look like the wealthy guy, the guy that went and made his fortune, got all his happiness through money. Wasn't that a great movie? My son in America has seen it like 10 times. And I never told him what to do. He just loved that movie. I knew if I told him what to do, he'd do just the opposite. You know what I mean? It's like that. If I want him to do something, I use reverse psychology. Don't become a devotee of Krishna, whatever you do. That's the last thing in the world you want to do, become a devotee of Krishna. Oh, really? Why, Dad? Well, if you become a devotee of Krishna, then everything belongs to Krishna. You won't own anything. Oh, really? Of course, when you realize you don't own anything, you don't worry about anything. Because you never owned it in the first place. I had a really cool thing that my brother-in-law, he's very cool. He's come to India 3 times with me. He's a doctor. One of the brightest bulbs in the room. Really smart. Remembers everything. And what was he going to say here? See, I said remember everything and I just forgot. So George said, what did he say? Oh yeah. He said, I was telling you I have these thoughts, this, that, just my mind is just causing me so many problems. And George said, I don't have any problems. Are we okay? So he said, I don't have any problems. I said, what do you mean you don't have any problems? You're married to my sister, for God's sake. You got a lot of problems. He was nonplussed. He said, you see, I don't own anything, including my thoughts. God owns all of my thoughts, and He owns all of my problems. I don't have any problems. I was like shocked. It was so profound. Even my thoughts, they're not mine. You notice how thoughts just keep going all the time? You're in the shower, you're thinking, you're going somewhere in the car or train, and your brain is just, it's like on an automatic. Oh, look at that person there, they've got this on their head. Oh, that haircut, look at that, they look like a chimney on top of their head. Your mind just does all these crazy things, right? And then you realize, wait a minute, none of I'm not willing those thoughts to come there. They're just there. How did they get there? When did they arrive? And they disappear as fast as, you notice how they disappear as fast as they come? I hate the way that person bumped into me. 2 minutes later you forgot about it. They just come, they go. I have a way of dealing with certain thoughts. Sometimes it works. I'll share it with you. My brain will say something very nasty, and I'll use very bad language. Even in Hindi, I've learned some really bad words from you. And I just say, thanks for sharing, to my mind. Thanks for sharing, like it's somebody else, And it kind of works, it depends on how strong those modes of nature are. If the modes of nature are really heavy, it's hard to get those out. So, thoughts, if thoughts aren't mine, and if Krishna is the source of everything, and he's the source of all the spiritual and material worlds, everybody knows that, ABC, I hope. Anybody disagree with that? That God owns everything? So everything's coming from God, right? Everything's coming from Krishna. All his, not just the living entities, not just the material world, but what about all those 33,000 or 330,000 or 3,333,000 demigods? They're all coming from Krishna. They're all in the material world. They're just in higher positions and lower positions. I don't know if you've met them. I probably have, I don't remember. But Yamaraj is one of those people. We're supposed to all have a judgment at the time of our passing. Yamaraj takes a look at our record. Speaking of records, anybody know what is Bhrigu? Bhrigu, the spiritual master of the demigods? Anybody know about him? Raise your hand if you've heard Bhrigu before. Bhrigupati, yes. No? Well, Bhrigupati is the spiritual master of the demigods. And there are at any one time in the material world about 2 or 3 what's called Bhrigu readers on the planet. And these Bhrigu readers can read your karma because he has everybody's karma already written. So your karma's written. So I didn't know anything about Bhrigu. We're talking about free will now, remember. So I didn't know anything about Bhrigu. I was going through a very dark period in my life. A friend of mine, devotee, calls it up. Sneha is coming to Los Angeles. She's a Bhrigu reader. Do you want your Bhrigu read? I said, what's Bhrigu? So he explained to me, well, this is your karma, and gives you a sense of where you're at and where you're going. I said, I don't know. I'm not a big on astrology. So he says, well, do you want me to put your number in? Because every year she does a yagna, and then that yagna, if your number comes up, that means that you are meant to hear your Bhrigu if you choose to hear it. I okay, sure, put me in there. So next year, he calls me. He says, Sneha's in town, your number came up. Do you want to come down and get your Bhrigu reading? So I bundled myself and my son, who was around 12, and we went down to have what's called a Bhrigu reading. Well, it turns out that everybody's karma is written on palm leaves. Everybody's karma who's supposed to hear their karma. And I'm going like, yeah, this sounds like such a scam. If it weren't for the fact that we're free, I wouldn't have come. So I arrived there, and it's at some house of an Indian who worships Bhrigu, and we wait our turn. Finally, she pulls out her, it's not books, it's palm leaves. You ever go to a library where it's all palm leaves? These old palm leaves, very small print in them, tiny. If you go to Mankoti outside of Bangalore, it's about 2-3 hour drive. There's a big Nrsimha temple there, and there's a library there. And there they have all these palm leaves in different languages, in Tamil and Sanskrit, I think some in Kannada. So she pulls out, she starts reading in this language that probably Tamil, that I didn't understand. And I hear my father's name, Abraham. I hear my mother's name, Miriam. I hear Chicago, where I was born, amongst all the sound vibrations. Well, it turns out that Brigu knew, was giving me the confidence that he knew what my karma was. And he told me when my father died when I was 16, I got married when I was 30, I got disappointed in marriage when I was 42. Everything was spot on. Born in Chicago. My previous life, I was a Muslim film producer in London. Had it all nailed. Of course, I couldn't ever confirm that previous life, which I tried to do. But, sorry to admit it, but, I was shocked. My son was like, Dad, how did they know all this stuff? And it's not stuff you could look up, really. So I understood that, gosh, our destiny it's already kind of there. It's prabhavda karma that you have to live. And the living proof of it, the living proof that you do not have a lot of choices, is the fact that you're in the body that you're in. Think about it. You earned that body. You didn't apply for it. You didn't, try and, say, I'd rather be a girl than a guy. Or I'd rather be, no, you got that body. And you're living proof that free will is extremely limited. And my question to you is, what is the extent of your free will? Can you think thoughts constantly of your choosing? Or is the idea that the thoughts you have that you think you're choosing are thoughts that you're thinking you're not choosing the thoughts that you're thinking? Did anybody follow that? I hope not. That the thoughts that you have are actually destined for you. And you're thinking, no, I'm not going to think that thought. And that in and of itself is also destined. In other words, my question is, what is the limits of your free will? Who can tell me? And that's why I asked. Tell me something that you've chosen freely. Let's talk about it. You didn't choose your body freely. Your thoughts come and go, it seems like it will, although sometimes we think we're controlling the mind. So where is our free will? Help me with this. And if there's no free will, are we just robots? Are we just acting according to the whims of the material nature of the three gunas? And if that's the case, well, we might as well just kill ourselves. Because what's the point of being a robot? So help me with this. Who's got some examples of making choices? What choice have you made in your life? It's okay, there's no wrong answers here. You can just say what it is.
Making friends.
Making friends, finally. We got a choice. I can choose whether to make a friend or not make a friend. Everyone feel that's a choice that they can make? Keep your hand down if you think it's a choice you can make. Keep your hand down. So you don't think it's a choice you can make. 1, 2. You don't think it's a choice. Why is it not a choice?
Because they can act in certain way and we will feel like, yeah, they are good and we can make friends with them, but they are not really showing themselves like that.
That's your understanding. What's your understanding?
It's karma. Because of a karma, you have to deal with them once again in this body.
Aha. When they do astrology, sometimes they say, well, that's palmistry. When they do astrology, they think, oh, you have you have stars for having many friends. And some astrology, oh, you have stars for being alone. You know, your life will be very isolated. You know, like that, they can kind of predict. And if that's true, what does that say about our choice about having friends or not having friends? Making friends or not making friends?
Everything is destined.
Everything is?
Destined.
Destined. Everything is destined. Under what law or laws are things carried out in this material world? Karma, right. And karma is governed by gunas. The gunas are the act of performing, of effectuating karma. So those three gunas are tamagun, rajagun, and sattvagun. Right? And when we're born, our bodies embody a certain combination of those three modes. Some people are born more sattvic, some people are born very rajarsic, and others are dumb, not very smart. And not smart in a book way, just not smart in a way of acting for the interest of the soul. So the three modes of nature are constantly, we're like puppets. And we have that beautiful illustration in the Bhagavad Gita of the three modes of nature, and they're pulling the strings on the living entities. And the living entities are thinking, I am doing, I am choosing. We're what's called in Maya. We're in illusion. Actually, it's all being pulled by the strings of the illusory energy through the agency of the three gunas. So where's our choice in that? It's an illusion. We think we're making a choice. We think we're making friends. We think we're telling people we don't want to be their friends. But all that is through destiny, through the agency of the three modes of nature. So where is our free will? Do we have any? He's saying no. Anybody else want to venture a yay or a nay? But if we don't have free will, then why do we think we have free will? We think we have free will, but if we really don't have free will, and we're just puppets, where's the fun? Where's our choice in the matter? See, in India today, we're all taught you are the core of your own destiny. You choose your future. You are the future of India, a great Bharatvarsh, the youth of this country. But if you don't have any choice, then what's the point of the pep talk? So there has to be something there between all of that that actually is an expression of free will. And where is that? Where does the soul intersect with the three?
Desires.
Des-
It's a desire. Every person has a desire.
Uh-huh.
According to that, he takes some actions.
Right.
We don't have a free will. It's just a desire that we naturally have. Everyone has some of the other desires, and that causes us to do things that we do.
Excellent point. Where does that desire come from?
That is the thing. We don't have a free will. It's a desire created by the God.
Aha, so you're saying that our desire to be an engineer is created by Krishna.
Yeah, it is. Like there are some things that some person might like that the other guy might not like.
Aha.
So it is already destined to that person.
Okay, but if it's destined to that person, where's their free will since it was destined?
Yeah, so I don't believe in free will.
You don't believe in free will.
Yeah.
How many of you do not believe in free will? Keep your hands down. That's the way to do it in India. Keep your hands down if you do not believe in free will. So the hands up are those that believe in free will. Keep your hands down if you don't believe in free will. Hands up if you believe in free will. Well, it's about maybe not quite a half, not even a half. Believe in free will, and the rest of you believe that you're robots. So where is the choice? Oh look, I made a heart. Where is the choice of the living entities in all of this material creation that's governed by the three modes of material nature, which is affecting karma on everybody's head here? And that's how we got our body. Yes, sir.
Maybe like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, when if one transcends the three modes of nature, maybe he can make a free will, because he says that before hearing the Gita from Krishna, Arjuna was lamenting because he was seeing his relatives as body, flesh and blood. But after hearing the Gita, after the instructions of Krishna, he saw them as they are, like their souls, living entities. They are also eternal parts and parcel of Krishna. And Krishna tells him that if you don't do this work, I will get this done by someone else. You are just acting like a tool. So it was up to him to act according to Krishna or not. But only when one transcends the three modes of nature, like Arjuna transcended after hearing the Gita from Krishna.
That's very true. Whenever Krishna has recommended in the Bhagavad Gita that one must transcend the three modes of material nature in order to be on the level of making decisions that are free. Just one problem with that came in one of the earlier chapters of Bhagavad Gita when he was describing the various yoga systems. He wasn't done yet, because he also says in the Bhagavad Gita that, and Arjuna laments that Krishna, this mind is more difficult to control than the wind. How do I do it? How do I control the mind? How do I transcend the three modes? And Krishna says by constant practice and detachment. But what is that practice in this age? Previous ages were very austere yogic practices of meditation. And previous to that, many yajnas had to be performed. They were complicated. Vedic hymns had to be recited. It was very complicated. And Krishna doesn't end with that comment. That's just partway through the Bhagavad Gita. There's 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. That means it's a progression. So he's explaining to Arjuna, yeah, you have to transcend the three modes of material nature, but how to transcend? How do I become free in this age when there's so many distractions, when there's so many traditions that are no longer followed, where austerities are not the norm, they're actually looked upon with most of the time with great disdain, because the wealthy and the powerful are enjoying their senses to the fullest. So in this age, Krishna gives a very simple formula by the end of the talk with Arjuna. And he says, just surrender to me. Surrender to me. You'll cross this ocean very easily. Sarvadava parichaja. Just surrender. So, the question is, if the three modes are dictating all of our choices, and if Arjuna is also perplexed, and Krishna gives him this very simple formula, just surrender to me. What does that actually mean in this age? To just surrender to Krishna. Is it what?
Trust the God.
Trust God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says that on the American dollar. Actually, it says trust God, all others pay cash. Yes, trust God is a very important element. Very important. And so when you say trust God, then it means you say, I trust what God recommends. Right?
Yeah.
He knows what's best. He's the ultimate doctor of the soul. As we say in Krishna consciousness, he's the ultimate managing authority of the soul. The Yuan, the Uma of the soul. That's Krishna. So in this age he said, nah, meditation, forget it. Forget it. You're never, ever going to achieve perfection through meditation in the age of Kali. This is one of the 4 yugas. And this yuga is the most difficult of all yugas. Why? Because there's so much avarice and greed in this yuga. And there's so much godlessness and lack of respect for life. Just see how many cows are slaughtered, stolen. See how many children are taken out of the womb and killed. How many wars are taking place throughout my entire life. There's been war here, war there, everywhere war. How things don't seem to improve. Despite all of the advancements of technology and the promises, as General Electric, a very big company, says, we make good things for life. Yeah, like a nuclear bomb. Great. So, technology is that great promise. And it has been since the beginning of Kali Yuga, that it will solve all problems and make life very pleasant for everyone. But in fact, Krishna tells us otherwise, and Prabhupada amplifies that through his purports, reminding us that this material world is, in his words, no fit place for a gentleman. It's not a fit place. Why? Because there's so much suffering here. Just read the news if you don't have it in your own life. Or talk to your parents and ask them how's their marriage life going. They'll tell you. Well, your father this or your mother that, but I love them anyway, but it's not pleasant. There's so much argument in the age of Kali. It's the age of quarrel. So Krishna gives this recommendation, surrender to me. And in this age, he tells us exactly how that surrender takes place. And not only does he tell us, he says, you souls out there in the age of Kali, you've been revolving in this cycle of birth and death for millions and millions of years. You've taken body in every single 8,400,000 species of life. You've taken birth in every single one of them, and you have come to this human stage of life. So I'm going to make it very easy for you in this age of Kali, because this age is so difficult. And then you'll be able to make a choice of free will. You can choose, like he offered to Duryodhana. You know the story of Duryodhana and the battle of Kurukshetra. He was offered by Krishna to make peace with the Pandavas. They just want a head of a pin to stand. Give them a head of a pin and take the rest of the world to yourself. And Duryodhana says, out of his own free will, he did not follow Krishna's instruction. Out of that was his expression of free will. And Arjuna, out of his own free will, says, I'll take you, Krishna. I don't care about anything else. I just want you on our side. And that battle that took place for those 18 days was vicious. Who's been to Kurukshetra? Anybody? 2 people. I've been there. It's a real place. That they have a museum there of the whole history. They have the Sarwar. They have the ISKCON temple is there. We're building a temple. What, you know what the shape of the temple is there that they're building? Chariot. Yeah, it's going to be an amazing place. Kurukshetra is one of the great tirthas on the planet. It's where Krishna was present with Arjuna and guiding. Bhagavad Gita was spoken there. You really feel, if you get into it, you can really feel, and you read the Gita while you're there. Oh, that's an experience. Of course, you have to make a choice of your free will to go to Kurukshetra and have that experience. And why is that a choice of free will when you go to travel there, whereas if I go to take a vacation to the Seychelles, that's not a choice of free will? Why? Anybody understand why? Yes.
That choice is made in ignorance. That choice will be made in ignorance.
Yes, he's saying that the choice to go to the Seychelles is made in the mode of ignorance. That's kind of the answer, but here's the real nucleus of that answer. When you're going to a tirtha, you are acting according to Guru and Sastra. You are choosing to follow the instruction of Krishna. Because he says, go to these tirthas, meditate on me. Surely you'll come to me. That's his promise. But when we go off to enjoy on a cruise or sometimes to the Seychelles or whatever, that's to enjoy our body. Going to a tirtha is recommended activity by the spiritual authorities to gain spiritual advancement. I was just in Govardhan for 5 days of a japa retreat. First few days, we had a nice retreat center there. We had talks each day, bhajans. It was very peaceful, very nice, but it was all building up to the last day. We were chanting 16 rounds very nicely every day, getting into how to get absorbed in Krishna's name, because within Krishna's name, Krishna promises that all his potencies are present in his name. He's made that promise, and I want him to reveal that to me. So I really wanted to go and see what this was, if I could get more nectar out of the name. You get nectar when you're dancing, and you feel that the name is causing the spirit to kind of get you on your feet and dance in kirtan. That's nice, but I wanted to feel it in japa, because japa is much more subtle. So the last day, we're going to bus you to this place called Terkadam. And Terkadam is where Rupa Goswami, one of the great progenitors of Krishna consciousness after Lord Chaitanya left, wrote so many wonderful things. He was there for a long time. Now there's a very nice tirtha there and temple, Sarvar. And our job, when we got dropped off those buses, around 400 people, was don't get back on the buses until you've chanted 64 rounds. So all day long, you have 400 people in a relatively small place, chanting, getting into the name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And that mantra, that Maha Mantra, that's what Krishna has prescribed for us to do in this age. And when you chant that mantra, that's an expression of your free will, because you are what? Surrendering to Krishna's instruction. Whenever you surrender to Krishna, that's your free will. And when you don't, you've just surrendered to Maya. You've just become part of your destiny again. So if you want to get out of the cycle of birth and death, once and for all and forever, leave suffering behind, then one has to act according to the instructions of Krishna. And when he does, and his most important instruction was to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra as much as you can. Some of you are chanting 2 rounds, 4 rounds, 8 rounds. You're working up to 16 rounds. Maybe you'll get initiated so that you'll make that vrat, that vow, that in this life, as Prabhupada said, you chant 16 rounds, you follow 4 very simple principles: no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. You're guaranteed at the end of this life to go back home, back to Godhead. No matter what happened, what kind of person you were, that's the promise. And I can say that after all these years, that I've seen such miracles take place from people who've been chanting Hare Krishna. And the gaining their freedom from the shackles of the material nature, becoming really liberated. Some more so than others. I can't tell you how the dynamics work, why this person or that person seems to be more advanced or less advanced, but I know that everybody gains advancement if they make those choices out of their own free will, because that's the only free will we really have. Everything else is governed by the 3 modes of material nature, even though we think we're making free choices to be an engineer. Actually, it wasn't a free choice. Actually, that was the 3 modes of nature operating in such a subtle way that he said, I'm not going to do what my parents want me to do, I'm going to do what I want to do, but actually what he wanted to do was already predestined. It's that subtle. And it goes much more subtle than that. We are in such illusion, we don't know we're in illusion. That's how deep it goes. But because you're here, you have broken that chain. You have said, no, I've had enough. And I want out. Actually, you want in. That's what you want. You think you want out at the beginning, but you really want in. You want in on that bliss and love and excitement and fulfillment of Krishna consciousness, which gives you much more than you could ever imagine in this material world. The rewards, I would never, ever think of trading my life as a devotee for all of Elon Musk's money, or what's that guy in Facebook? What's his name?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, Mark Zuckerberg. I couldn't understand. Mark the Zucker. What an idiot that guy is. He looks like an idiot. The funny thing is he doesn't know that he looks like an idiot. Anyone would get a haircut like that, my God. Anyway, they should bring him in India. He should get a chimney. You shouldn't be laughing with that haircut. I got a haircut here. I did. I like going to the barber. Just down Juhu Lane. I have one guy. Well, actually 2 guys. Takes one guy to hold me, the other guy to do the head. No, just kidding. I like getting haircuts here. They're like 1/10 the price. No, 1/30th. Well, maybe 1/15th the price of America. They charge so much money to cut your hair. It's not worth having hair in America. Really. Prabhupada was so kind. Dad, just shave it all off. Don't worry about paying the barbers. You know how much they charge? Let me tell you how much they charge. Here's what we're up against in America. Barbers that charge, what's 30 times 80? 2,800 rupees. No, 2,400 rupees for a haircut. That's just the haircut. Don't even get the shave with that. And they don't do anywhere near the good of massage that you get here. How did I get off on haircuts? Anyway, my free will is that somehow or another, I somehow stay in the association of devotees. And I really love devotees, and I love all of you, because you're all here. And being here means that you are inquiring to what's the purpose of life? Why are we experiencing birth and death? And why is all these wars going on? Why can't I just enjoy things? And the fact that you're here means you're not part of that common denominator. You're the intelligentsia. You're very intelligent, even though many of you look stupid. You're very intelligent. You really I include myself in that, by the way. I actually pride myself on looking stupid. It's actually kind of cool. You know, like we have Judd Barrett. He was this great soul, but he played like he was kind of dumb. He couldn't speak, and deaf, that he couldn't hear. But he actually was this great soul that eventually awakened this King Rahugana to his finally realized that, oh my God, this guy is a saintly person working in the field. And you never know by the looks of people. You can't really tell what's going on in their heart. So I think that you are all on a very good path back home, back to Godhead. Please keep it up, keep chanting, increase your chanting. You have such nice association here in this beautiful temple. Prabhupada gave us this gift. What a gift. He had a vision. And we worked to make this vision happen. We were all in America sending money, building this temple. That's how important Prabhupada. Before we had temples there, he was having us send money here. I mean, we had little apartments in here and there, but not marble palaces with beautiful rooms to meet and talk. And that was the gift that Srila Prabhupada gave in his life, was to make India really the center of spirituality in the world again, and to lead this world with its spiritual principles of kindness, nonviolence, and spiritual acuity, spiritual intelligence. And that's honed on the chanting of the holy names. It just creates a purified buddhi, that brain that somehow or another gets purified through this process. And I know it's not easy all the time, and you have time pressures and family pressures and social pressures, but that's the way the material world works, and it's not a picnic here. It's not going to be all easy. I'm sure that you've all seen your periods of angst in your life, but these are all tests to make us stronger in our spiritual convictions. So I think that kind of wraps up. I've taken your time for an hour. I hope it's been worthwhile, a little longer than an hour. And I wish you all the best in your spiritual journeys. And every time I come back to this temple, I hope to see more of you here. And you can tell me about your progress, your experiences, by depending on Krishna and Krishna's instructions. I'm sure that you'll all be very successful in your endeavors in life, spiritual endeavors, because the material ones will come and go. Don't confuse the two, otherwise you'll blame God for the bad thing. Now God gets all the credit for what good happens, and we get all the blame for what, it's something I did in my previous life or this life. But when the good things happen, oh, Krishna's so kind. Look, they say prasadam for me. I didn't think they would. Oh, Krishna, thank you so much. And that's how you advance in spiritual life. Very simple. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Guru. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.